All right, woohoo, we're live. All right, are you guys ready? Okay, cool. Why don't we really fast, can we go through and everyone just say like your first name, and how about where you are on the career path? So like how long you've been a consultant and what your title is. So like brand new consultant, senior consultant, red jacket. Okay, Kat, do you want to get us started off?
I'm Kat. I've been doing this since the end of March, and I'm a senior consultant.
Woo-hoo. Soon to be red jacket, soon to be on target car even, right?
Yes.
Yay. Go ahead.
My name's Courtney. I've been for about a month.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm like, I guess the new consultant still.
Still new, yep.
I'm Jasmine, brand new.
Brand spanking new, right? That's great.
First week.
Yay.
I'm Jessica. I've been a consultant since last August. And am I still a senior consultant even though my
Yeah, you're a senior.
failed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You're a senior. Cool. All right. Well, hi to everybody who's watching from home. Really quick, I just explained it to all these ladies, but I realized that I should probably be telling everybody. So starting next week, there's a really good possibility that I will be on maternity leave. And so what that will look like as far as our meetings go is that next week we might still be in person. If we're not, it might look like a Google Hangout. It might look like us taking a week off. After that, we will be joining Brianna's unit for skincare classes on Wednesday night. So bring guests, have watch her live skincare class, still keep this night on your schedule, keep coming to get training from Brianna. And then I will be doing weekly Google Hangouts with everyone in our unit just to kind of keep everybody connected and to continue with trainings. So just kind of bear with me as I'm not exactly sure what maternity leave is going to look like for me. But I promise to stay in contact and let you guys know what is going on. So, all right. So last week this week we're on Launching Pad Part 3. So last week we talked about skincare class, the skincare class and the follow-up appointments. So if you are watching live and you had any questions about last week, you can go ahead and Vox or text them to me and I'll answer them like as we go along. We'll see if any of those pop up. But we are going to jump right into all the material tonight because it's a lot of information, but it's going to be really, really helpful information, I think. It's just kind of dense. So we're going to jump right into it. Tonight we're going to talk about money management. We're going to talk about how to manage your inventory that you invested in. And then we're going to talk about how to just kind of break down some barriers in your business and how to get like unstuck if you're feeling stuck, or if you haven't felt stuck yet in your business, then you will at some point, I promise, because everybody goes through that. So we're going to talk about like just when that comes up, how to break through that so that you don't stay stuck, because it's okay to feel stuck, but it's not okay to just stay there. Okay. So let's talk about money first though. All right. So first of all, with money, we're going to start from the basics. So we make 50% commission off everything we sell. I think everybody knows that. But here's how that works, okay? Especially for our like new consultants that are watching. We make 50% commission because we pay wholesale costs, which is half of the retail cost. So if I sell a $20 moisturizer, I only pay $10 for it, but I sold it for $20, and that's how I make 50% commission, okay? When you go to order product on InTouch, it shows the retail amount, but at the end, when you go to checkout, it cuts that in half for you. As long as you're active, we're going to talk about that in a second. It cuts that in half for you, and so you're only paying half of that cost, okay? So that's how our profit works. There's a lot of questions I get about how does that work as far as does the money go to the company and then back to me? If you've been working, you know that that's not how it works. People pay you directly. You keep your 50%. And we're going to talk about how we really split it 60-40, but you keep your 50% commission and then your other 50% commission goes to buying the product or replacing the product on your shelf. Okay. So let's talk though about like how you get that 50% discount and the difference between active and inactive. So when you are active, it means that you've placed a $225 order sometime in the last 3 months. That means that you get what's called your earned discount privilege. It basically means that you're opening up that 50%. Okay. If you have not placed $225 in a single month in the past 3 months, you go into what's called inactive status. Really all that means is that you're probably not working or selling actively. And so the company kind of recognizes you probably don't need your 50% discount because you're not really working and selling. So it kind of turns that discount off. To turn it back on, you just place a $225 order and then boom, you have your discount back. Okay. That does not mean $225 is $225 worth of product, not just some fee that you're paying to the company to get your discount. That's product. Okay. So if you're inactive and you want to get active again, go sell some product. That's how that works. Okay. Because my goal is not for you to spend your own personal money on getting active. That's not the point of the business. It's for you to go sell product. And then when you go to buy the product for your customers, that's getting you active again. Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. If you have questions about that, feel free to shoot them at me. But we're going to talk about why a 60-40 split is actually more beneficial for you than a 50-50 split. Okay, so when I say 60-40 split, what I mean is that I'm actually taking, if I sold $100 at a skincare class, instead of taking 50% or $50 and $50, I'm doing $60 towards my business and $40 towards my paycheck. Okay, and here's why that works out better for your business. So we're going to use this $100 number because it's easy and it's an easy number to work with. So let's say I sell $100 at a skincare class. When I go home to figure out how much needs to be reinvested in my business versus how much I can pay myself, I could either say, okay, so $50 is just ordering the product or reordering it to go back into my inventory. Okay. The thing that I'm leaving out, though, is that I have to pay $9 in shipping, right? Either way, whether I'm ordering the product for the customer or I'm replacing it on my shelf, I still have to pay $9 in shipping. Also, there are just some costs that come with owning a business, right? Like cotton balls and cloths and pens and random stuff like that. When I take my 50% commission and put it in my bank account, and then I have to go buy cotton balls with my personal bank account, it doesn't really feel like I'm making that money for my business. Does that make sense? So instead, taking an extra 10% and just putting it in my Mary Kay checking account or leaving it in ProPay, whatever that looks like for you. Now when I go to buy cotton balls, I'm taking it out of that 10% instead of out of my paycheck that I paid myself. We all okay. Does that make sense? All right. So here's what that would look like. So after every skincare class, you would go home and fill out a weekly money sheet. And we're going to talk about how to fill out a weekly money sheet. But that 60% gets split up like this. 50% just to reorder product, 10% for shipping costs, business expenses, paying for events, and all of that, all right? The 50% is going to go to the company, right? That's ordering product. So that's going to leave your account. But that 10% is going to stay in your separate checking account that you have created. Or if you want to keep it in your ProPay and have a ProPay card that you use, that's fine too. It doesn't, that's a personal decision. But you're going to keep that separate. That way, when you pay yourself at the end of the week, that 40% is profit for you. That's pure profit. So you can use that to, one, pay back your inventory loan, which is number one priority. That's what, if you still have a loan, my recommendation is that your profit's going back to paying your loan. You can use it to pay bills for your family, obviously. So some women, when they come into Mary Kay, this is how they're paying their bills. And in that case, I would have you split your profit and part of it go to your inventory, part of it go to paying your bills, okay? Depends on your situation. And then third is use it for fun money. So once you have your inventory loan paid off, like your profit is for you. So go buy yourself shoes, go, whatever you would do with your normal paycheck, that's your money. And you can feel secure in paying yourself that because you've already paid for the product and for your business expenses. So now all of a sudden it feels like I'm making, even though I've taken 10% away from my commission, I feel like I'm making more because when I buy something for my business, it's not coming out of my personal account ever, ever, ever. Your family will have more respect for your business too when you pay yourself and you can say, that's truly just for us. That's never going to go back to paying for seminar, paying for, pens, paying for going out to eat. If we go out to eat after a meeting, that comes out of my business account. That never comes out of my personal family's account because that's not, it's business. It's not my personal. Okay. So does that make sense? Do you guys have questions about the 60-40 split? No. Okay. Okay, it is, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but it does get a little hairy, and we're going to go through the weekly money sheet, and I will explain kind of some tricky parts of that. Let me pull that up really fast, actually, and let's go through. So to find the weekly money sheet, to be honest, you can just go to Google and put in Mary Kay weekly money sheet. That's what I'm doing right now, and it's the first thing that pops up. So here's how the weekly money sheet works. This is a foolproof way to make sure that you're paying yourself fairly, and that you are always replacing product on your shelf. You're never embezzling from your own business. So let me walk you through this, and I'll get a little bit more nitpicky on this. That way you can go back through, since this link is going to be saved, you can go back through and watch this again as you're filling yours out, and it might answer some questions that you might have. Goodness, there's like something in my eye. I apologize. Okay. So this weekly money sheet. So, and I'll also try and download this in a PDF form and put it on the Facebook page. I don't know if I'm able to do that because it's pulling it from a website, but I'll try, or I'll at least put the link up on the Facebook page. So line 1 is your weekly sales. Okay. So, let's say I, sold $100 and I took $20 worth of product for myself. Like I pulled a moisturizer for me to use, and then I also gave away a free mascara. Okay, and so that was $15. So 100 plus 20 plus 15, so 135. That's my weekly. It's not even really sales. It's weekly product off my shelf. So how much product retail left my shelf that week? That's what line 1 is. Okay. So the easiest way to track this is every time you give away a free product, include it on the sales slip. So for example, if I have a hostess who earned $200 free to party with me, okay, like that's my hostess program, and she earned $200 in free product, I'm still writing her a sales slip. I'm still putting the retail amount, and then I'm making a note on that sales slip that says earned free product for being a hostess, whatever. But that way, when I go to do my weekly money sheet, I'm still counting all of that product in. Okay. That way I'm replacing it on my shelf, and I don't just see my inventory decline because I'm not replacing as much as I sold. Okay. If I give away a free roll-up bag, I'm still writing on the sales slip, roll-up bag, $35, and then I'm making a note next to it, free, because she bought an Ultimate Miracle set or whatever. Whenever I pull product from myself, I write myself a sales slip. Okay, because ultimately I am paying for that product. I'm just only paying half cost. Okay, because if I pull off my shelf a microdermabrasion set and I only had one left, and then someone buys a microderm for me the next week, if I didn't replace it, now I'm out of microderm. You know what I mean? So I write myself a sales slip. I write at the top personal, or I write demo, and I keep that in my weekly sales slips. So when I go to do my weekly sales, I am adding up every product that left my shelf, the retail amount of that product. Okay. The next is total sales tax. So how much did you charge everybody? Add up all the sales tax. Sales tax, guys, is calculated before discounts. Okay. So if you give away $20 in free product to a customer, that $20 is still included when you calculate the sales tax. So subtotal is before discounts, and you're taking you're figuring taxes out on the subtotal. Then you take discounts, then you add the tax. Does that make sense?
What about your personal use stuff?
For personal use, gosh, that's a really good question. I don't include sales tax in my personal use. But you probably should, because you're paying it.
Do we pay tax when we buy the product?
When you buy the product, you pay tax on the full retail amount.
Right.
So basically, I guess it doesn't really matter personally, because for personal use, because you paid it, and you would just be paying it to yourself back. You know what I mean? So I guess it doesn't, I don't know. I'll find the answer to that. It's probably yes, you should be charging yourself tax. Even though I definitely don't. But now that you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, why have I never? So I'll find the answer to that. Okay, because that's a really good question. But yeah, so it says line, the next line says line 4, but it's the next line, the total sales tax. So that's easy to go figure out. Pull all your weekly sales slips and just add up sales tax and plug that in there. Okay. Line 5, and so this is where it gets kind of hairy. Line 5 is total money to deposit. So this is how much money you actually collected. Okay. Now in a perfect world, your weekly sales would be the same as your money deposit, right? But that's not how it works because you've taken personal use product. You've probably given some product away for free. So that total money deposit, you need to track how much money you actually collected. So you can either do that by grabbing your ProPay, looking through your ProPay and adding up all the transactions that you did, or looking at your bank statement and seeing how much money came in. You can do it based on your sales slips as long as you're being, correct on your sales slips. So you want to make sure that everything is balanced, right? How much money did I bring in and how much should I have brought in? Now, where this can get a little bit hairy, and I'm not going to go super, super into detail about this. If you want more detail on this, either Vox me about it or come to New Consultant Bootcamp because we're going to get really in depth on this. But when you do like payment plans, so let's say I put someone on a payment plan, they gave me half up front and they're going to pay the other half in a week, which we can do. That obviously is going to be reflected on here. So there's like a gray bar on the side of the weekly money sheet. And that's where I put notes in like Lisa Lisa on payment plan, collected half, collecting other half on. That way when I'm looking at this and I'm like, why am I missing $20? I can look at that and go, that's going to be on next week's weekly money sheet. Does that make sense? So just make sure you just really need to be, this should be a weekly thing where you're sitting down for probably an hour and really being very like adamant about every little detail of your money. Okay. Because otherwise money will just disappear. It'll walk away if you're not tracking it. Okay. We want you to make as much money as possible. That's the whole point of this. Okay. The next line is money to budget. So this is money deposited minus sales tax. And we do that because we're recouping sales tax. When we charge a customer tax, we're getting that money back. We've already paid it on the product. Okay. So total money to budget is line 5 minus line 4. And it says it right there. I mean, a lot of this, it walks you right through it. And that money, line 6, that money to budget line, that's what we're going to start breaking down. Okay. So let me talk to you about discounts for a second. I harp on this all the time and I'm not going to take like half an hour and talk about it, but I am going to talk about it. Where you will see your weekly money sheets suffer is when you are offering crazy discounts to everybody and their brother, okay? Because if I sell 3 miracle sets, that's $95 a piece. Let me just walk you through this. If I sell 3 miracle sets at $95 a piece, that's $285. Plus sales tax, that's $304, okay? Let's say I discounted all of those people 10%, okay? So now I've only made $256. So I've lost $30, but here's the thing, guys. When I go to order that product, Mary Kay In Touch is not offering me a discount on that product. So now instead of making 50% commission, I'm now making 40% commission, which is really only 30% commission because I do a 60-40 split. See how quickly your paycheck diminishes and how it can really feel like you're not making a lot of money because you're over discounting product. This product does not need to be discounted. From January 1st until now, I have not offered a single discount on a single product. Other than Hostess credit, nobody has gotten product from me at anything other than 100% retail. And my sales are not suffering because of it, okay? You don't need to discount the product to make money. And it will, when you discount, you will notice on your weekly money sheet, you'll sell $700 worth of product and then your paycheck will be like $200. And you'll be going, well, that's weird because I sold more than that, right? And that would be really disheartening to every time see like a really low paycheck, even when you have really high sales. So, just don't over discount. Okay. I can like seriously stand on a soapbox. When I become a national sales director, this is what all of my speeches are going to be about. Like, stop discounting the product because you don't need to. You don't get to walk into Macy's and be like, oh, but like I would buy it if it was at 25% off. They'll be like, okay, well, it's not 25% off. So keep on walking. Okay. I'm not going to go into that anymore. Anyway. Okay. So the next line is your wholesale order to be placed. So the number one thing, your number one responsibility is to reorder product, and here's why. If you have inventory and you diminish that inventory, so let's say you purchased $2,400 in inventory. You stop replacing product on your shelf, and so after 6 months, you diminish your entire inventory, you have nothing left. You might as well go take $2,400 in cash, take it to your backyard, light it on fire, and watch it burn. Because what a waste of your money to invest $2,400 and not have any product to show for it. Does that make sense? Because now I have to reinvest again. That doesn't make any sense. The point of investing inventory is that you invest one time, you pay off your investment loan, and yet you still have product on your shelf because all you're ever doing is replacing the product. Okay? So that's why line A is so important. And it's 50% of the first line. It's 50% of everything that left your shelf that week. So if you pulled $200 in personal use that week, then you're going to pay $100 to replace all that stuff. So even though it feels like you have Sephora at your house, you still need to take into account that you're using, you know what I mean? So a couple times a year, I'll take a hit on I'll go through and take a whole bunch of product on my shelf for demos and personal use and all that. And I just know that that's just a hit that I'm taking. It's not a big deal. But if you're like, oh, I'm going to grab this for my mom and this for my sister and all this, blah, blah, blah. If you owned a Starbucks and you were giving your whole family free coffee, you're going to see it in your profits, right? My mom pays full price. That's all I'm saying. I love her, but she pays full price. So, but just keep in mind, if you go pull, a bunch of stuff, that's going to be reflected in here. That doesn't mean I don't want you using personal use. It doesn't mean I don't want you having demos. I do, but we can talk about how to do that responsibly so you're still making a lot of money. Okay. So 50% of everything that left your shelf, you are reordering. That just makes sense, right? You're just going to replace every product that left your shelf. Okay. What's left is that amount minus, or the money that you have to budget minus your wholesale order that you have to place is the money that we kind of have left, okay, to pay yourself, to pay business expenses, all that stuff. So the next line is how much money do I have left? So the line below that is paying your business loan. So what this has you do is this has you take 7% of the money left and apply that to your business loan. I encourage you to do a lot more than that if you want to get your loan paid off quicker. Okay. This is you get to decide ultimately. My honest opinion, if you can afford to just not take a profit for 2 months, just do that and knock out your loan. If you have to take a profit, I totally understand. Like, it's here for you to take a profit. I'm not telling you to not take a profit, but if you can get away with not doing it for 2 months, pay off your loan and then just be debt free, and then you get to pay yourself your full commission, then I don't see why you wouldn't do that if you can afford doing it. You don't have to, but they have you take 7%, and then the next line is 3% that goes to business expenses. Okay. Personally, what I did when I was paying off my inventory, I just took 10% for business expenses and 40% towards paying off my loan. I had my loan paid off in 3 months by doing that. And it felt really good after 3 months, even though I didn't technically take a profit. It felt really good after 3 months to cut the card and say I'm done with that. And then everything after that was just pure profit. So that felt pretty good. And then you're also going to set aside $9.35 for shipping. Okay. So here's the difference. This is girls who have inventory versus girls who don't. If you have inventory, you only need to probably pay shipping once a month, because all you're doing is placing one large order at the end of the month to replace everything you sold all month, because you just were able to hand people product. You didn't have to go order for them. Okay. If you don't have inventory, you need to be doing $9.35 every week, because you need to be placing an order every week for your customers as they buy it. Okay. So having inventory versus not saves you about $30 a month if you have inventory. Does that make sense? $30 a month, guys. That's a lot of money throughout the year. A lot of money. So yeah, is inventory scary up front because it's a large investment? Yeah. But would I rather have $30 in my pocket every month? Especially because, yeah, for 3 months I might not take a profit, but guess what? If you don't have inventory, you're paying that extra $30 for the rest of your career, versus me, where I'm paying off a loan for 3 months, but who cares after that? I'm only paying $10 a month in shipping. And I'm watching girls who don't have any product pay $30, $40, $50, $60 a month in shipping. So, and then the last line is your paycheck. So when you get down to your paycheck, you can know you have paid your business expenses, you have paid you've paid shipping, and then your paycheck, that goes towards whatever you want it to go towards. Okay. So if you're going to put all of that towards your inventory, towards your loan, then that becomes a little bit less for those 3 months. It becomes less relevant because all of that's going to go to pay off your loan anyway. But once your loan's paid off, that's your paycheck. That goes straight into your checking account. Okay. So that used to be my favorite part of the week, was I would text my husband. Now my paycheck goes towards it all goes towards my business expenses as a director. So paying my assistants and all of that stuff. It's still an income, but I split my money a little bit different as a director. But when I was a consultant and still my paychecks were still paying like our bills, that's my favorite thing to do was text my husband and say, hey, guess how much my paycheck is this month? Like I made $840 off my sales this month. And he'd be like, woohoo. And I would transfer $840 into our personal checking account. And that was ours. That was our money. I never messed with that. It never went back to my business because I had already taken care of all my business expenses. See how all of a sudden that feels like such a more like a real paycheck instead of like, well, yeah, I sold $100 and I made $50, but not really because I have to pay shipping. Like all that gray area is where you start feeling like you're floundering in your business. It needs to be black and white for you to really feel like you're having success in your business. Okay. Questions about that? That's so much information. What questions do you guys have about paying yourself and money and all of that stuff? Before we move on to the next thing. Anything? Okay. If you're watching, you have questions, text them to me. Okay. And I'm going to put this link up. Actually, I have it right in front of me. So I'm just going to put it. That link is now posted to our Facebook page so you guys can access that weekly money sheet. Okay. Which you'll need to because it's part of your homework.
I'm not part of
Facebook page. Yes. Nag me about that. Okay. Make sure you get added. Okay. So now that we kind of know how to pay ourselves, how to break all that down, I want to talk just for a minute about taxes and how taxes work. Okay. So you as a Mary Kay consultant, you own your own business, meaning you get tax credits like any other business owner. Guys, everything is a tax deduction when you work for Mary Kay. Everything. So let me give you some examples. When you go get your hair cut or your nails done, save the receipt. That's a tax deduction. If you buy an outfit that's specifically for your business, save the receipt. That's a tax deduction. If you go out to eat for a Mary Kay reason, so before a meeting, after a meeting, to do a share meeting with somebody, if you go to lunch with me as your director because you earned something and you buy your lunch, then all of that stuff. My husband and I like to have working dates where we go to dinner to talk about my business, and guess what? It's a tax deduction. Anytime you travel for Mary Kay, so if you go to seminar, your plane ticket, your hotel, any food that you buy while you're there, if you drive there, your gas, anytime you take an Uber or a Lyft or anything. I went to LA and everything, literally everything while I was there was tax deduction, and I was really thankful for it when we did our taxes this year. It was, I had bought my plane ticket. I guess the expenses there didn't count towards this year's taxes, but I bought my plane ticket in 2015 and I reserved my hotel. So those went towards my taxes this year, and it was really nice to see that just drop right off. I mean, there's so many other things. Whatever, you can actually write off the part of your house that you use specifically for your business. So if you have a designated office space, you can put that against like the full square footage of your house and get a percentage off your mortgage or your rent. Your mileage, start tracking your mileage. Track your mileage to and from the studio. Track it to and from every appointment. Track it to and from when you're delivering product, when you're going to a share meeting. Every bit of mileage. So you can either do that on paper and just have like a clipboard in your car and write your starting odometer and your ending odometer and then write what that trip was, or you can get an app. There's an app called Mile IQ and it's free, and it automatically, when you get in your car, it starts tracking, and when you stop moving, it pops up on your phone and says, was this a business or a personal trip? And you swipe one way for business and swipe one way for personal, and it tracks for you. I think Brianna already has like a couple $100 in mileage just from doing this for a couple weeks. Okay. So mileage is a big one. We're going to talk about food supplies. So anything on section 2 is a tax deduction. So cotton or cloths, or catalogs, mascaras, all of that stuff. So anything section 2, as long as you're keeping your packing slips in every order and you hand them to an accountant at the beginning of next year, she'll know how to do that for you. Guys, we paid like $150 to take our stuff to an accountant, and it was worth every penny because she found money that like I had no idea that I would have never found that money. So we usually do like a tax thing kind of like at the end of the year, or I guess at the beginning of the year, we'll do like tax stuff. And so you guys are more than welcome. Like I'll refer all of you to the accountant I use. She's wonderful. She, like I said, she found a bunch of money. So just keep all of your packing slips. Anything that you use for demos, like any products that you use for demos, write a sales slip for your demo products. Those are all tax deductions. So much stuff. I mean, it goes on and on. And this is all written on the packet that's on Facebook. So you don't need to like memorize all this. It's written on here, but just to kind of walk you through it. even personal use products that you can see. So all my color products except for foundation, because our foundation's so good you can't see it. Isn't that funny? But my mascara, my eyeshadow, my eyeliner, any lipstick, any of that stuff, that's all personal use. But since I'm advertising it, like if someone says, oh, I love your makeup, and I'd say, oh, I use Mary Kay, that's a tax deduction because technically I'm advertising with my makeup. Isn't that fun? Working in skincare and makeup is so much fun. And then we talked about travel costs. So here's how I organize my tax stuff, okay? Because this is like, people are like, all right, so I have all these receipts. What the heck do I do with them? I have an expandable file folder that like has 12 sections in it, one for every month. Every receipt, every sales slip goes in each slot. So for like the month of May, every receipt that I collect, every sales slip I collect, at the end of the month, it all just gets dumped into there, and I don't do anything with it until tax season comes around. I literally handed that to my accountant and said, here you go. And she was like, great. And she went through it and did it all for me. Okay. Optional. And what I have been doing this year, because it helps me, is keeping an Excel spreadsheet and updating it with date, place, amount, and why. So I kind of have a running like ledger of my business expenses. My assistant goes through and does that for me at the end of every month. It's something that you could probably do yourself as a consultant because you don't have quite as many expenses as we do as directors. But that's kind of nice, so you have a running idea of what your expenses are every month. And also it's nice because if you're racking up, like if you're going out to eat and like eating your business expense account and you're like, what the heck, where's all my business expense money going? You can go back and be like, ooh, I spent a lot of money at Panera last month or whatever. So it's kind of nice for you to have a visual and do that. And then you can always just print that and give that to your accountant as well. The other thing on taxes, and this isn't on here, and this kind of just jumped into my head, and this is kind of changing gears a little bit. When you're charging your customer sales tax, I've had a lot of questions about this recently. When you're charging your customer sales tax, it's the sales tax for your county. Whatever county the product originates from, meaning the county that like you live in, that's your sales tax that you're charging the customer, okay? Because your business is located at your house. Does that make sense? And you literally find that by Googling sales tax and your zip code, and it'll pop up, okay? All right, so let's put this into actual practice. Let's talk about, so I get home from a party. We've already talked about skincare class and follow-up. So after the party, I come home. I have cash, I have checks, I have card transactions, I have all these sales. What the heck do I do, okay? So how do I go home and get myself organized so that all my money is organized, my product is organized, I'm like creating my wholesale order, all that stuff, okay? So the first thing you do is deposit checks and cash into your Mary Kay checking account that you've created, okay? Everybody should have a personal checking account, obviously, but then you should have a Mary Kay checking account that is only for your business. So all of your checks and cash are going to go into that account right away, okay? Same day if you can, but for sure the next day. As far as charging cards, if you've already charged their card, like I charge cards right there as I'm sitting with them, unless it's like a huge group of people and I don't have time to sit there and charge them. On the sales slip, there's a spot to write in their card information, okay? So charge any cards that haven't been charged. And then what I do is once a week, I sit down with my weekly money sheet and I go through and I do all of that, okay? So it's just a once a week thing. I do mine typically on Sundays because that's usually a day I don't work. So my weekly money sheet is from Monday to Saturday, and then I do it on Sunday. Okay. We already talked about make sure you account for payment plans and hostess credits and free product and all that stuff. We already talked about that. So when I've done my weekly money sheet, oh no, Courtney's having problems with the live feed. Okay. So, once a week, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do we send our weekly money sheet to you or to the company?
It's just for you, so you don't have to.
Oh, okay.
What I usually suggest is in your first month, like send them to me just to kind of be like, hey, did I do this right? And until you get the hang of it. But it's not like you don't owe that to me. You know what I mean? But I would suggest doing it just because if there's a tricky something, then sometimes there are little things where I'm like, oh, like I forgot to mention this or that, you know. But no, you don't have to send those into anybody. Those are just for you to keep your money straight. Your accountant will ask for them though. At tax, she'll want to see how you were managing your money. So yeah, I sit down and do my weekly money sheet. If I don't have inventory, then I'm probably placing an order that same day that I do my weekly money sheet, right? Because I need to order all my product for my customers that I sold that week. If I do have inventory, what I do is I write out my weekly money sheet and then I just put it in. I have a file at my desk that's for this, like the current month. It goes in there. So every week I'm just putting it in there. Then the last week of the month, I'm grabbing all of those and I'm going through and just adding up what those wholesale orders are. So let's say over the course of the month I've sold, or $1,200 worth of product has left my shelf. I've either sold it, pulled it for personal use, or given it in free product. So $1,200 has left my shelf. That means roughly my wholesale order is probably $600, whether that's on one money sheet or spread out over, whatever. I'm adding up all my wholesale orders, and then that's how much I know I need to place at the end of the month to restock my shelf. Okay? If you don't have inventory, you need to be ordering product for your customers within 48 hours of them ordering. So if that means you have to do your weekly money sheet a little bit early so you know exactly how much you need to be ordering product, or if a customer orders something that you don't have on hand, you need to order that product within 48 hours. That's just good customer service. That's how we roll as a unit. I do not want your customers waiting because you're like being funky with your money. Okay, don't mess with that. Your customers are important, all right? But hopefully you have inventory. You're able to give your customers almost everything that they need right away. So you don't need to place an order right that minute. But you need, before the last day of the month, you need to go back through the whole month and restock yourself. Okay, this is how you avoid going into inactive status. This is how you avoid diminishing your inventory. This is how you contribute to our unit. This is how you help your team hit goals. This is just how this works, okay? So let's say it's like, actually, this is a perfect time of the month because we're heading towards the end, okay? So probably this Sunday, I'll sit down with all of my weekly money sheets and I will look and I'll say, okay, so my total wholesale order needs to be probably somewhere around $1,000 is what mine usually is at the end of the month. Okay. Now I can go back. I know that I've personally already placed like $500 just because I've had to order some stuff. I needed some stuff for like a gift and all that. So I've already placed about $500. So I have about $500 more that I have to place to be able to keep my inventory where it needs to be. So the next question is, so what do I order? Like, what is that? How do I fill that order? Okay. So I categorize it. The first thing is any products that you haven't ordered yet for customers. That's the number one thing. Okay. So you start filling your basket, and you can actually on InTouch, when you go to order, in that top right-hand corner, there's a box that's showing you like your running amount. There's actually an option where it says, do not let my order fall below. I put in my wholesale order number there. So let's say I need to place $500. I put in there, do not let my order fall below $500 wholesale. That way, if I go to check out and something slipped my mind and it'll bounce back and say, oh, your order's only $493. And I'm like, oh shoot. And then I add one more thing so that I'm making sure that I hit that 500. So that's a really nice feature, especially as a newer consultant, because it's really easy to lose that. Like if you're in A3 and you have to place 225, put in there 225 so that there's no possible way you can mess it up. Okay. So the number one way so the first things in my like basket or my cart when I'm ordering product is things that I need for my customers. Okay. The next thing are products that left my shelf that I know I'm going to sell again. So like if I sold 3 Miracle sets, I need to replace 3 Miracle sets because those are a top selling thing. For my brand new consultants, like brand new, I will help you. Like at the end of the month, if you're like, I don't even know what to order, I will help you work through that. That's part of my job. So reach out to me and say, hey, my wholesale order amount should be $700. And I'm not exactly sure how to fill a $700 order because that seems like a lot. Can you help me out? I'll help you fill it. Okay. But that's like the next category, things that I know that I need to keep on my shelf. So for me, those are any skincare, satin hands, satin lips, or foundations. If one of those leaves my shelf, I'm always replacing it. Okay. And then you might have some leftover like money that you need to like spend to put product on your shelf. What I do with that is that's how I change my inventory up seasonally. Because I might have sold this week like 8 lip glosses. I don't need to replace 8 lip glosses. You know what I mean? I can replace those with something that's more relevant for the season. So let's say like right now, I don't have a lot of like the sunscreen stuff on my shelf. So this month, a lot of my order is going to be like sunscreens and the lip protector and stuff. Okay. I don't need to buy a whole bunch of liquid foundation because I don't sell a whole lot of that in the summer, but I will sell a lot of sun. So do you see how like that's how you can, your inventory can kind of change seasonally, which makes it awesome because now I'm making sure that I'm always hitting target market and it just makes my life so easy. So that's kind of the third like category. Any leftover wholesale money that you have, you're going to fill it with things that you'll probably sell in the next month. Okay. Or like great example, summer products just came out, ordering the seasonal products. So let's say you don't have any under eye corrector. Ladies, go buy like 10 under eye correctors. I sell those things. Like I can't keep them on my shelf. I just had 4 come in, they're gone. Like I cannot, it's crazy. Everybody loves these things. But like the new lash intensity mascara, the new concealers, all that stuff, you're going to want those on your shelf. So use some wiggle room in your wholesale order and order those things so that you're never like investing more than what you sold. You don't have to build your inventory by investing your own personal money. You just need to be smart about how you spend your money. Okay? Questions about that? Does that make sense? Is everybody understanding like why you always order half of what left your shelf so that you always keep, okay. Don't just go burn $2,400 in your backyard. So I say on here, don't stop ordering until you fulfill your wholesale amount. We talked about that. And if you don't know what to order, ask me. If you don't have inventory, you need to make sure you're placing orders. I say on here 24 hours, but I think 48 hours is the absolute longest, okay? Now, if you have like 5 parties back to back over the course of 2 days, that I can understand waiting until all of your parties are over to place your order. That makes sense, and that's not a big deal. But what I'm talking about is girls who sell $100 and then they go spend $100 and then they're like, oh, I'll just place, now I don't have the money to place the order. Unacceptable. Not okay. If I find out you're doing that, I'm going to call you out, okay? Because your profit is 50%, not 100%. Under no circumstances are you taking 100% profit, okay? No one in here has done that. That's not my point. But I know that it happens, and so I'm just putting it out there, okay? So that's really like, that's how we work. That's how we roll in this unit and how we manage our money, okay? So my goals as a director of this unit is that you guys make as much money as possible in the shortest amount of time, and that you always are able to have product on hand. Because those 3 things make you feel successful in your business and they help you hit financial goals faster. Okay? When I can work efficiently, make a lot of money, and keep product and keep a full store on hand, I am cranking in my business. That's where you start seeing girls rise up their career path. You gain confidence in your business. When you're seeing low paychecks because you're over discounting, when you're embezzling from your business and so your products, like your store starts diminishing, those kinds of things make you feel defeated, okay? Money questions are things that should always be directed directly towards me, okay? If you have a money question, you just go ahead and go past your recruiter and you just always come straight to me, okay? Because I'm very specific about how I want you guys to run your business, not in a controlling way, but because I want you to make good money and I want you to have success in this. And it's really, really easy to mess that up if you even just kind of get off track a little bit, okay? It doesn't have to be, it can feel very effortless. It just takes some effort, okay? All right, if you guys don't have questions, we're going to switch. It's already 7:45, so I want to switch so we can talk a little bit more like head and heart stuff and talk about just this idea of like if you ever feel stuck in your business. And not if you ever, but when you feel stuck in your business, because this is going to happen. And I want to talk to you guys about how to get out of that space, because you're either there right now, you've been there recently, or you're going to be there at some point, okay? So I want to tell you guys a little bit about like my story with feeling stuck so that you guys can know that this happens to everybody. Like even soon to be Premier Club, Equinox driving directors, like this happens to everybody. So I actually, I think I posted something on my Facebook page not too long ago. Last January was the turning point for me in my business, okay? I had, let me back up a little bit. So last January, I went to January Jumpstart. The 7 months before that, I had been an inactive consultant. So I wasn't working. I wasn't selling anything. I had a whole bunch of products staring at me on my shelf. and I hadn't done anything with it. And every time I would think about doing something with it, I would just be like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I just felt really overwhelmed by it. And I didn't really feel like I had a good foothold on how to get back into my business. So I just felt kind of meh. Like, I wanted to do it, but I wasn't sure how. And that went on for 7 months. That was a long time. But Brianna called me and she's like, hey, come to January Jumpstart with me, like even just as a friend. And I'm like, I'm not even an active consultant. Like, what's the point of me going? And she's like, just do it for me. So I was like, fine, I'll go, but I'm not going to like it. Then I went and I was like, ugh, I'm going to like it, but I'm not going to tell anybody that I like it. And then I really just quickly was inspired and thought, okay, you know what? I don't even know where to start, but gosh darn it, I'm getting back into the game. I am not messing around anymore. And so I did 2 really, really important things. I told somebody my goal and I set a deadline. So I looked at Brandon and I said, I want you to remember the deadline. I want to be a director by June 1st. So this is January 1st. This was probably actually January 3rd of last year. By June 1st, I want to be a director. So that gave me 2 months to get into DIQ and then 4 months to finish DIQ. Okay? June 1st. Brandon's like, awesome. I went home and I told my husband, I want to be a director by June 1st. I want to leave my job. My baby was due in April, so I didn't want to go back after maternity leave. That was kind of like how I got my deadline. So that was my goal. I wrote it all over my house. I told everybody I'm going to be a director by June 1st. Oh my gosh. So let me walk you through what happened, okay? So January, I get active again. I get 2 new team members. February, I debut as a red jacket, meaning I have 3 team members. March, I go on target for my car. So 3 pretty awesome months. Like boom, boom, boom. I go from inactive to on target car in like 3 months. It was awesome. And I was like on top of the world. Then in March, I had to go on bed rest. I couldn't think of the term. I had to go on bed rest. And I should mention, I left my full-time job in February. That's how well I was doing in my business. I was killing it, making great money. I left my full-time job. And then March, I get hit with bed rest because of high blood pressure. I was 9 months pregnant. But I was on target car, so I was still doing well. April comes. I enter DIQ April 1st. I have my baby April 5th. Okay? DIQ is the hardest thing you will ever do in Mary Kay. It's doable, but it's tough. It takes a lot of mental stamina. So does anybody see maybe where issues might be rising? I have high blood pressure. I just entered DIQ. I have a baby 5 days later. Okay. April, we finish month 1 of DIQ, and I get hit hard with some postpartum stuff. Hit hard. May, I fall off DIQ. I don't make it. So I have to resubmit. So now it's June 1st, the date that I told myself I was going to be a director. I'm only in month 1 of DIQ because I just resubmitted. And that, guys, I'm telling you, is a defining moment in my career, because what I could have done and what 98% of the company would have done is said, this is way too hard. I've got postpartum stuff going on. I'm still dealing with high blood pressure. I failed last month. I didn't even make it through DIQ. I'm barely hanging on to car. My husband is giving me every excuse in the book. He's telling me, you're fine. You don't need to do this. You're stressed. Let it go. And I could have decided June 1st, I am not resubmitting for DIQ. This feels like a huge defeat. And instead, I dragged my butt. I will never forget this. I dragged myself upstairs. I got on my computer and I hit the resubmit button, and I thought, what in the world am I doing? But I did it because I committed. I committed January 3rd to a goal, and I didn't commit to a deadline. I committed to a goal. I'm going to be a director. By June 1st was my ideal, but just because it didn't happen June 1st did not mean it wasn't going to happen. Okay, so you think like, okay, that sucks. Oh, no. June, we don't hit DIQ again. We missed it by $2,000, which is, we barely made half. So now it's July 1st. I'm still only in month 1 of DIQ. I dragged my butt upstairs. I hit resubmit again, and we went for it again. July, we made it through month 1. We made it through. I earned my car, by the way, back in May. So there's like all kinds of stuff going on here, but I'm not going to go there. July, we make it through month 1. August, we make it through month 2. September, we debut as a, I think I'm a month off, but we debut as a unit December 1st. What was my original deadline? June 1st. 6 months later, I did what I said I was going to do 6 months ago. And I will tell you, it felt really flippin' good to debut December 1st. I didn't for 1 second think, oh, but it's not June. I didn't care. And you know what, even more? My husband, this was the best comment I got. He said, I am so proud of you for persisting. I'm so proud of you for persisting. And I remember thinking, that means even more to me. Like, this goal means so much more to me because I did fail 3 times, guys. 3 times. You know how hard it is to submit for something 3 times and be like, okay, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to try again. Side note, you can only submit for DIQ 4 times. Once you're 4th, they're like, so I had 1 more go in me. So my point is that if you're feeling stuck, set a deadline and a goal and then stop quitting because you don't hit your deadline. Just focus on the goal, because if you keep persisting, it's going to happen. Deadlines change because life happens and things come up and babies are born and jobs are lost and all that stuff. But if your goal never changes, then there's no then you will end up hitting it, even if it doesn't mean you hit it on the first deadline that you set. Okay? And guess what, guys? I don't care now. I've been a director for 6 months and I make 2.5 times what I ever made in my old job. And do you think I ever for one day sit there and go, oh, I really wish I would have hit? No, I don't care if I hit it June 1st or December 1st. I'm happy where I'm at, and I'm really, really flipping glad that I did not quit just because it got hard for 6 months. Okay? So let's break that's I just wanted to share that with you guys because I think sometimes it's really easy to look at us as directors and be like, well, you've made it through. It's easy. No, we have all failed. Brando can talk to you about all of the times that she's felt defeated in her business. Katie will talk to you about her feeling defeated in her business. Any director you talk to, we have all been in a spot where we were like, why am I even doing this anymore? But you know what makes us the top 2% of the company is that we didn't give up, and 98% of women do. That's why the directorship is top 2%, okay? Anyway, I just always think that that's like fascinating that 98% of the company says, this is too hard. And the 2% that stick with it, we get paid pretty well. That's what I'll say. Okay, so let's bring that back to you guys, okay? So I just want to like leave you guys with some thoughts. This business is mathematical. It's not magical. There's no luck involved in this business whatsoever, okay? There's nothing about my story that was just luckier than anyone else sitting in this room. I just worked more, okay? So start tracking your numbers. If you're stuck, start tracking and being realistic about how much you're actually working, okay? 10 booking attempts equals about 1 booking, okay? So 10 calls on average is 10 phone calls, not texts, not Facebook messages. 10 phone calls equals 1 booking. When you go to text and Facebook messages, you're looking at more like 15 to 20 equals 1 booking, okay? Unless you're just hitting a really hot market and you're getting a lot of responses, which some people do, but we're talking averages, okay? 10 bookings is 5 held appointments. So about half of your appointments will cancel. 5 share calls equals about 1 new team member. A little bit higher percentage if your team member is being layered. Okay, so if you've met with them a couple times, you might see 3 successful share calls in a row, okay? So I share those numbers with you because what happens a lot of times is it's like, oh, I just feel like I've been doing so much. And my question always to you is, how much have you really been doing? Because it can be really easy to send out 15 booking Facebook messages and be like, nobody responded to me. And I'll say, yeah, because you're not working the numbers, okay? So it's mathematical. It is not magical. This business is mental. It's not magical. So you can only control what you do, all right? You cannot make people respond to you. You cannot make people show up for appointments. You cannot make people buy product. You cannot force anybody, but you can control what you do. So when you're setting goals, set goals that you have control of, okay? So my goal is to do 50 booking texts this week. You can control that, right? Nobody can stop you from doing 50 booking texts. Make your goal, I'm going to reach out to 5 women with the business opportunity this week. You can do that. Do not make your goal, I'm going to get 10 bookings this week. Because guess what? That's not up to you. Now you can run the numbers and average out, I want this many bookings, so it means I need to do about this many share call or about this many booking calls. But you can't, if you start setting your goals based on things that other people control, you're going to feel defeated really fast. It's going to feel like this business doesn't work for you, but that's just not the case, okay? I love, someone told me once, fear stands for false evidence appearing real, okay? So when you start feeling scared in your business, and by scared I mean, what if this doesn't really work? What if Mary Kay is not everything it's chalked up to be? What if, and we all have those thoughts. I've had that even since I earned a free car and became a director. I've had those thoughts that they come up. But I stop and I ask myself, okay, so when I'm not feeling successful in my business, here are the questions I ask myself. How many hours did I work this week? Okay. Now, if you're a part-time consultant and your goal is to only work 3 hours, great. Did you work 3 hours this week? I'm not saying you have to answer with some like massive, but how many hours did you really work this week? And I do that by looking at my weekly plan sheet and comparing it to what I actually did this week. Okay. Can I honestly say I've given it my best shot? Have I left it all on the table this week? I have done everything I can to make my goals happen. Have I given it my best shot? I rarely answer yes to that question because more than likely I've watched Netflix instead of doing something. I've stayed in bed for an extra hour in the morning. I've done something where I'm like, I could have done better. Okay. So have I given it my best shot? And the last question I ask myself, and this one usually hurts, is if someone else was working as hard as I am, would I expect them to see results? Because what's really easy is to be like, I'm working so hard. But if I thought about if someone else was working as hard as I am, I usually am like, yeah, they would probably suck. You know what I mean? Not Dave Ramsey. Darren Hardy, who's an inspirational speaker that I listen to a lot, and I just have a lot of respect for him. He talks about how when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of people say, I love it because I don't have a boss. And he's like, no, you have a boss. Your boss just sucks. Your boss lets you come to your job in PJs. Your boss lets you sleep in. Your boss lets you skip out on work days. Your boss lets you not work when you say you're going to work because you're your worst boss. And I am totally guilty of that. Like I have showed up to work in my PJs a lot of days and going, why am I not productive today? And then I look down and I'm like, because I'm not even dressed for work. I didn't even get up and shower today. So take this job seriously and then you'll start seeing serious results. Okay. So when you do your weekly plan sheet, if you say you're going to work 3 hours a week, then work those 3 hours a week, just 3 hours. If you say Tuesday night is my booking text night for 1 hour, then do booking text for an hour. Shut your computer down, turn off the TVs and do booking text for a solid hour. Okay. Whatever that looks like for you. But unless you can answer all 3 of those in a way that you feel really good about, you are not allowed to say the business doesn't work. Okay. Even though I know sometimes it feels that way. So I'm not trying to like diminish because I know that like I've been there and I'm like, no, but like you don't understand I'm working really hard. That doesn't mean that sometimes you won't work really hard and just not see results. That does happen. And I'm not trying to play that off, but my point is that most of the time what it comes down to is I need to buckle down kind of thing. Okay. So I don't want you to I don't want anyone to be like, well, I do feel stuck, whatever. Those are real feelings, but a lot of times we have to bring it back to okay, but what's the work behind it? Okay. The next thing that's important for you to know to get yourself unstuck is, are you a big picture or a step-by-step person? Okay. So I'm going to go through the qualities of both. And I want you to kind of identify with yourself, which one of these am I? Because it's really, really important to know. If you're a big picture person, it means that you like to work towards the end goal, and the way of you doing that is kind of just like rapid change. Like I'm going to try it this way. If it doesn't work, I'm going to try it this way. If it doesn't work, I'm going to try it. And I just change it up a lot. I'm not really so focused on the step to step. It's more like I just want to get to that goal and I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get to that goal. Okay. I'll build a bridge. I'll dig a moat. I'll do what I have to do. I just want to get to my end goal. So when little steps feel tedious or they kind of feel unnecessary, you're not really interested in the ladder. You just want that last step. Okay. And also you keep your eyes on your vision and not so much your current reality. So these women get less hung up on oh my gosh, right now they just don't care. Okay. It's just things might not be going great right now. I don't care. I'm just tunnel vision towards my goal. All right. The other option is you're a step-by-step person. And one of these is not better than the other. It's just you have to know how to set your goals based on how you are. So if you're a step-by-step person, it means all you really need to know is the next thing. You know your end vision, but you need to know the next best step every step of the way. So you want to know, okay, so if I want to be a car driver, it means I need 14 team members, and that means that I need to do this many share calls, and that means I need this many booking, and you break it down like that. A big picture person is going to be like, I don't need any of that. I just know that I need 14 team members and this much production. I'm just going to make that happen. However I have to. Okay. But a step-by-step person's going to ask a lot of questions so what do I do next? What's my next best step? What does this look like? Break that down for me. So if those are those kinds of questions that you have, you're a step-by-step person. big picture people, you need to do vision boards. You need to always have your vision in front of you. You need to always have your big goal in front of you. You need to talk to people about your big goal and your big vision. Okay. That is enough to keep you motivated because you're just going to keep going and you'll just figure it out along the way. I personally am a big picture person. Okay. Like when I knew I wanted directorship, I think one of the reasons I just kept submitting because I was just like, I'm not a director yet, so I'll just hit submit again until I'm a director. Like it became less about like what was going on right now and just, well, I'll stop when I hit my goal. So keep your vision in front of you if you're a big picture person. If you're a step-by-step person, make a plan. Set a goal, set a deadline, and then make a plan so that you can always feel secure on at least I can focus on this. At least I can control this. So if your plan is, if you need to, let's say your goal is to get one new team member, okay? Or even just one booking. What does that look like today? So that might look like today taking 20 minutes to do 20 booking calls, okay? Because that's going to get you two appointments about, one of those will hold. And so does that make sense? Like I'm breaking it down and I can control this. Where a big picture person would just be like, I'm just going to get a booking, and they'll just kind of like flounder until they get a booking, and then they're like, whoa, I did it. And they don't really care how they got there. But you need to know that because you have to set yourself up for wins. And you need to set yourself, even a big picture person, your wins have to start really small and then they need to compound on themselves. Have I ever told you guys about the mouse, the fighting mice? You would know if I told you because it's kind of a particular story. Okay, so Leah Loughlin talks about this and I love this. So they did a study and they took one mouse and they put him up against an equally sized mouse. Okay, so they were equally like, matched. The mouse that won, they took that mouse and they put that mouse up against a bigger mouse. So still a mouse, but a little bit bigger. So he was actually the underdog. That mouse won. Okay. Then they took that same mouse and they put him up against a rat, like a much bigger, formidable opponent. And in almost every situation, that mouse beat the rat. So they went back and they did a study. They said, well, why do we think this is happening? And what they determined is because that mouse had one little win. And it didn't know it was a little win. It just was happy that it beat the other mouse. Even though that mouse was equally matched, it wasn't that big of a win. That first win gave him enough momentum to beat the bigger mouse. And then that win gave him enough momentum to beat the rat. So you have to create little wins for yourself. So if you're feeling stuck and you're struggling, everything is a win. Because it really is. I remember I literally went 3 weeks and I was not able to get a booking. 3 weeks of just silence, nothing. And I remember coming to a meeting and I was like, I don't even know where, like, I'm out of people. What do I do? I'm like literally out of people. So what I did is I just said, all right, here's what I can control. I can control that I will reach back out to 10 people that I've already reached out to. And that's going to be a win for me. And you know what? It helped. And I did. And I was like, I did that. That's it. I went to bed. And I literally was like cheesy enough where I was like, go you. You did it. You did the thing. You contacted 10 people. You are awesome and you deserve ice cream. And I would give myself ice cream and I went to bed. And then the next day I woke up and said, okay, so like, what do I have to do today to get a win? Okay, today I'm going to do my 5 key daily habits. Okay. I would get them done. I'd be like, you did the thing. Great. A week later, I had 5 bookings. And I'm telling you, it's because I beat the little mouse, and then I beat the bigger mouse, and then I beat the rat. It just was, there is so much mental here, guys. So if you're feeling stuck, you need to create wins for yourself and make yourself feel like you're successful before you really are successful, okay? When you get into the whole like, well, I have a tendency, not anymore, but I used to have a tendency to be kind of an Eeyore. Well, it's just not working out for me. And you know how much money that made me? $0.00. But what I did do is it drove my family crazy, and it probably drove my director crazy because it was just womp, 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 womp. And it's okay to be like, to feel frustrated. I quickly realized this isn't making me any money. And so what do I need to do to change it? So that's when I started creating like those little wins. Okay. That's what I have for you guys tonight, okay? I hope that all of that, like, those are two such different things, talking money and then talking head and heart. So I hope all of that is helpful. And And just know that if you're in a place of feeling stuck, the first person to go to is your director, okay? Not like your husband and not your friends, because they're just going to be, this is what your husband and your friends are going to do. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. Why don't we just like cuddle? Or why don't I bring over a movie and we just hang out, and I'll bring you cookies and we'll just sit there, okay? And I'm just going to, like, I feel so bad that you feel that way. And that's great. That's what friends or husbands are for. Here's what your director is for. I'm here to say, so what have you done this week? What are we going to do? How are you going to get unstuck? What are we going to do? Because I love you where you're at, but I love you too much to let you stay there. So your first thing, if you're feeling stuck, is to reach out to me and go, okay, I'm feeling stuck. And depending on where you're at, like, I might give you some clear stuff on what to do. I might just say, go get unstuck. Okay? The tube says, friends bring you cookies when you have cramps. Directors bring you Midol. Up and keep working. Okay? I know. There have been so many times where I've been like, but Brianna, I'm really having a bad week. And she'd say, I'm so sorry about that. And I would be like, okay. But now I'm glad she did. Okay, so your homework. Let's go over this really quick, and then I'll see if you guys have any questions. We're going to finish a little early tonight. I'm so on this. Okay, your homework. So first thing is to go back through your whole month and complete your weekly money sheets. Okay, so if you're a brand new consultant, this isn't going to apply to you, obviously. But if you've been working through the month of May, I want you to do all of your weekly money sheets. And I want you to do 4 of them for this month, even if there was a week that you didn't have sales, okay? But I just want you to get in the habit of having one week, okay? And I do want you to send me, you don't have to send me pictures of everyone, but I want your final numbers. So I want really just what your sales, or how much product left your shelf this month. So sales, all of that. So the first line, and then your total wholesale order for the month. Okay. And if you have questions going through that, this is the week specifically to ask me questions about the weekly money sheet. Okay. Sometimes I'll just direct you to someone else in the unit, because I get a lot of those questions. So I'll be like, all right, let me have so-and-so who's good at this. But I will answer all of your questions about the weekly money sheet personally this week, okay? If you are a brand new consultant, or if you didn't have crazy sales this month, go make a mock-up of one. Just like pretend, okay, I sold $600 this week. Just go through one just to kind of like familiarize yourself with it. And I'll count that towards doing your homework, just so you can kind of like look through it and just kind of create like a hypothetical. The next thing is to, I want you to look back on this month, since this is the last week of the month. I want you to go back and I want you to calculate how many hours total you worked this month, how many booking calls or texts you made, how many share calls you did, and then what were the results of that, okay? So like if you say, I have an example here. So again, this is on the packet that's on Facebook, so you can find it here. But for example, you might Vox me and say, okay, so I figured it out. I worked 10 hours last month. I made about 20 booking calls, and I did 2 share calls. And from that activity, what I saw is I had 2 appointments this week or this month. I didn't get any team members, and I'm sold for $400. So just kind of give me an idea of what was your work and what came from that work, okay? And then I want you to say, next month, this is what I'm going to do. Next month, my goal is to work so many hours a week, have so many do so many booking calls, so that I can have, 5 appointments. Does that make sense? I want you to be realistic about what happened this month, how much I worked, and what the results were. And then next month, I want you to project, like, this is my vision for myself next month, okay? There is no right or wrong answer, okay? I know people listening on this have goals anywhere from making $200 a month to going to directorship next month. So there is no right or wrong answer. I just want you to tell me kind of where you're at, okay? And then the last one is I want you to plug, so whatever that is. So let's say you Vox me and you say, okay, next month I want to work 6 hours a week. I want to do 20 booking texts a week so that I can have, 2 appointments every week. I want you to create a weekly plan sheet that reflects where you're going to do those things, okay? If you don't know what a weekly plan sheet is, message me. I'll get it to you. Or actually, better yet, probably contact your recruiter, because they can tell you where to find a weekly money sheet. And I will post an example weekly money sheet on the Facebook page so you guys can see like what that looks like. But I want you to plug in where in your week you're actually going to do those things. Because it's really easy to be like, I'm going to work 6 hours this week. But then you're like, at some point I'll work 6 hours. So I want you to like create your ideal week and say, roughly this is what my week will look like. Okay, so this is where I'll work my business and whatever. Does that make sense? Does all that make sense? Okay. So that's your homework. Cool? Pretty simple. It's not super complicated, and it's all very controllable this week, all right? I know, so what I really, really wanted to do was be able to have guests next week and do marketing. But with me probably going on maternity leave, I don't think that that's going to work out. So will you guys just bear with me and let me think that through? Because I know I mentioned it last week, and then I thought about it more, and I'm like, well, that would be kind of strange if you bring guests and then you're like, sorry, my director had a baby. Like that won't really work. So let me just kind of chew on that today and tomorrow, or tonight and tomorrow, and I'll let you guys know what we're going to do about that. I might do a live. What I think I might do is at the beginning of next week, granted that I haven't had him, I think I'm going to do a live Google Hangout share where you guys can send the link to all of your like strong potential team members and have them listen to me and watch me give my iStory and do like a mass share call. And you guys can be watching it too to kind of see, like learn about my iStory, because next week's going to be all about team building. And I want you guys to see what it looks like when I tell my iStory. I want you to hear my iStory. You know, I want you to like see what it looks like when I'm giving marketing and when I'm trying to build my team. So let me just kind of play around with that, and I'll get you guys more details, but that's kind of right now what is in my head. And that might be on like Sunday evening when a lot of people aren't like busy, and it would be like a half an hour Google Hangout. You would just send the link to your girls and say, hey, I'll get credit for you watching this. And then if you have like 5 women get on, maybe you'll get something for doing that. So that's nothing's in stone right now, but I'm just playing with that idea. Is that something you guys would be interested in if I did do that? Okay. You're probably like, what the heck does that even mean? So I'll explain that more to you. But that's a great way to go from senior consultant to red jacket. I mean, those kinds of things usually produce like pretty good numbers. So I'll get the details on that. All right, so it's 8:10. We have about 5 minutes. Is there any questions about anything that we talked about tonight?